Next guest for the day is President of the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Sanjay Aggarwal, an integral part of the growth story of Paramount Cables from a 1 crore rupee small-scale industrial unit to one of the largest cable manufacturers in India. He is an award-winning business leader. Take a look at this exclusive conversation.
Heading one of India's top industry bodies.
Main takeaway for the budget 2021-22 is the absolute focus, unwavering focus on infrastructure.
He is the president of the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
When you spend money into infrastructure, into building long-term assets, you invest the money into the economy, your multiplier is very huge.
NewsX India A-List proudly recognizes Sanjay Aggarwal for excellence in business leadership.
Hello and welcome. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're joining us on this special interview as part of our NewsX A-List series. We are in conversation today with Mr. Sanjay Aggarwal. He is President, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you very much, Mr. Aggarwal, for joining us today.
Hello.
Thank
you for having me.
Yes, we've had a lot of discussions, sir, over the last month on the budget, the expectations, but now it's time for an analysis of the document, which of course was this time presented in a digital avatar by the Finance Minister yesterday. What are your main takeaways of the budget 2021, sir?
I think the main takeaway for the budget 2021-22 is the absolute focus, unwavering focus on infrastructure. I think this is what PhD Chamber had been insisting on for the past nearly 1 year, especially since the onset of COVID. And this is what the government has decided to do, which is, I think, the need of the hour. We cannot be bothered about fiscal deficits, or we cannot be bothered about borrowings. The government is reconciled to 6.8% of fiscal deficit. The government is reconciled to 15 lakh crores of borrowing, which is definitely something which will not be out of the ordinary for any other economy or comparable economy. I think we have done absolutely the right thing, and I would absolutely agree with the statement made in the economic survey. That you can't have 1 foot on the accelerator and 1 foot on the brake. So we as a trade and industry had been hoping that the tap would be opened earlier. But I think to an extent, in hindsight, it seems to be the right approach. That now, when we are confident that we are in a comparatively comfortable situation as far as the pandemic is concerned, and our numbers seem good, the curve seems to have flattened. This is the right time to now open the spigot and to push money into the economy. And the money into the economy, I think the best thing that the government has probably taken into account is, and we fully appreciate that, is that when you spend money into infrastructure, into building long-term assets, you invest the money into the economy, your multiplier is very huge. Even the economic survey says that in the circumstance that we are facing today, probably the multiplier, one should be considering something like 2.5. So, even otherwise, of course, the government has done and should continue to do its bit wherever it's needed in terms of direct benefit transfers to the vulnerable sections, in terms of whether it is cash or it is free food grains or whatever. I think this 35,000 crores of allocation for COVID vaccination is again something that shows the intent of the government to not try and save on the health expenditure. The health expenditure has actually more than doubled, something like 230% if I'm not wrong. So these are some very positive aspects. Some other positive aspects that I think you wanted to say something. Sorry.
I think those are some good takeaways that you've brought out. And obviously this big boost of infrastructure, as you said, will stir demand, and will also, of course, will be good for growth, long term as well. Fiscal deficit is high. but hopefully it will be constrained. How important were some of the points that Nirmala Sitharaman, of course, raised yesterday, but also that the government has raised over the course of the last 1 year, as the PM and the FM have said that it's been 4 to 5 mini budgets last year, which is translated into this big budget. How confident are you with these announcements that they will help the growth once again of our country? We'll be back on the recovery part, and of course GDP will be positive very soon. How much will this aid and abet that?
You see, the 5 mini budgets, or as they were called, or Atmanirbhar Bharat announcements, the major impact of those was to preserve the supply side of the economy. I think a lot was done. The actual cash expenditure was not too high, but at the same time, a lot of other measures, non-budgetary measures, non-fiscal measures were also there, which ensured, for example, a good flow of credit to MSMEs, although again against 3 lakh crores of emergency credit guarantee scheme, we still have a disbursal of less than 2 lakh crores, but even that is a pretty big amount considering the state of difficulty that MSMEs were facing. I think all those measures were basically on supply side, and now that the situation has improved, the government is looking very strongly at the demand side, and this is what we need to do. We are going to have expenses where required. We are going to invest where required. The decision to disinvest, make announcements of the specific names of the PSUs that we hope to disinvest this year. The decision to announce the privatization of 2 PSU banks and 1 general insurance company again is a very solid intent. We are looking at something like 1.75 lakh crores, which the government is targeting to raise. In addition to this, the government is also forming an SPV into which all the excess land could be transferred for further monetization of that land, whatever it rests in government departments or in government undertakings. Now, that is also a very crucial subject because the PSUs individually or ministries are not probably equipped to transact or deal with that land, and there are lots of issues, including issues regarding their title deeds, for example.
And also disinvestment, perhaps the timelines need to be met. You know, the targets, of course, need to be achieved, but the timelines also need to be met because there were certain delays last year, obviously, due to COVID. Markets have also reacted positively. Could that also be gauged as a good sentiment for the budget from India and investors?
Absolutely. The markets have taken a lot of liking for the budget, as it is evident, it's one of the very rare market jumps that has happened after just immediately in the aftermath of a budget. So I think the market also appreciates the sort of buoyancy that one should expect. I think one aspect that we released a press statement on Sunday. Of course, we knew that it won't get much coverage in this budget analysis and all. But what we said, what the chamber said on Sunday was that we have analyzed various parameters on which economies are being rated. And when you look at the 10 largest economies and you rate them on various parameters, which include your debt to GDP ratio, your size, various elements, what we found was that only Germany is ranking higher than India. And all of these numbers are based on the IMF numbers. And you can look at this report. I'll have it sent it over to you, mail it over to you. This is a International Economic Resilience Index, as we call it. So our economy has shown that much resilience that the international funds, international institutions are recognizing.
No, that's great. That's great because international recognition is important because Economic Survey also noted with disappointment how international agencies have not upped our rating, which obviously is also very disappointing.
You see, the rating agencies themselves have so much to be desired in their own judgments that we have seen in the past. I think people will have to go beyond the ratings. The vitality and the strength of Indian economy is probably visible to everybody, and these ratings agencies will have to probably review their.
What's something though that was missing? What's something that perhaps you expected from the budget that wasn't there, which you hope the government will consider in the weeks ahead, maybe in a cabinet meeting next year's budget?
Okay, you see, there can hundreds of things that would always be missing. There's such a long wish list everybody has. Even on my wish list, even on infrastructure, on the PhD chamber side, we had been rather hoping that we would be looking at least 1/5 of our 111 lakh national infrastructure pipeline. That's supposed to be accomplished in 5 years. So last year was lost, so let us start counting our first year from now. Okay. But even then, we need to spend something like 22 lakh crores minimum in a year. Mm-hmm. So we have made very good strides, very good arrangements, including the new DFI that is formed. That is a huge, huge step. Yes. 5 lakh crores will be raised on the strength of our 20,000 crore capital that the government is paying. Yes. We could look at more happening. Okay. The chamber also has requested very strongly about filling up the judicial vacancies. That is something which is holding up both law and order as also the ease of contract enforcement, and the foreign investor also looks at that.
And that's something
that is also something that
can be done, of course, doesn't need to be done in a budget speech. A final question then, do you believe also now industry must respond positively? Corporate India must also come together to join hands with the government. The government has done what it can. Now it's time for Corporate India, India Inc. to also rise up to the occasion.
Absolutely. I think the Indian industry has to now rise up to the occasion. Let us also, but still be clear that the first bout of vitality has to be introduced by government expenditure into the infrastructure. As that builds up the basic demand, and as the industries find that their capacities which were lying idle are being filled up, that is the time when they will be anxious to go out, invest, and create more capacities. So the first step has been taken by the government, and hopefully as the industry sees the market scope, they will also be doing it.
Okay, well, let's leave it at that. We've run out of time. My thanks to you, Sanjay Aggarwal, for joining us with your expert analysis on the Union Budget 2021 and for taking time out for our NewsX A-List series today.
Thank you, Uday. It was really a pleasure. Thank you.